How a poor village boy learned to speak, write and listen, simple steps you can copy. He had no money for school and only a small cracked phone, but he chose one thing: practice over excuses, and that changed everything. If you want real, free and simple ways to learn English that anyone can copy, subscribe now because I share real stories and small steps that truly work. He started very small. First he opened his phone and watched one short video in English every day, just 2 minutes at first, then 5, then 10, he listened without worrying about every word, he just heard the rhythm and repeated lines aloud. For listening he used captions, first with his language on, then English captions, then no captions. He played the same short clip again and again, spoke after the speaker, and learned to catch the sounds. For speaking he began with single words, then short sentences. He spoke to himself while walking, he recorded his voice on the phone and listened back, and every time he found one sentence he could say better, he kept it in his pocket notebook. For writing he copied simple sentences from videos and books, he wrote 5 new words a day and used them in one sentence. He kept a small diary, one line about his day in English, and slowly those lines became longer. For reading he read labels, signboards, and easy storybooks, and he read aloud to practice both reading and speaking together. He used social media to find short clips that teach one idea at a time, he followed creators who explain slowly, and he asked simple questions in comments. Sometimes people answered and he practiced with them. He did tiny grammar practice, one rule each week, not to learn all grammar at once but to use one rule in 10 sentences. Most of all he kept the habit, 10 to 20 minutes every day, and he chose courage over fear. He made mistakes, laughed, fixed them, and kept going. Little wins built his confidence. If you copy these small steps, listen daily, repeat, write a little, speak loud, read easy books, and keep a tiny notebook for new words, you will see change. If you want, I can continue his story next, how he found his first speaking partner and what mistakes he made that helped him grow. He didn't have anyone in his village who spoke English, so he had to create his own world of practice. Every evening, when the village became quiet and only the sound of crickets and wind came from the fields, he would sit outside his small house with his phone and earphones. He joined a few English learning groups on Facebook and Telegram, where people from different countries chatted in English. At first, he was scared, his hands shook while typing, but he wrote anyway, even if his grammar was wrong. One day, someone replied to him kindly, corrected one small sentence, and encouraged him. That was the first time he felt confident that he could really learn. For speaking practice, he found partners online using free apps. Sometimes they didn't reply, sometimes they laughed, but he kept trying. Slowly, he found one serious learner like him, a girl from another state who also wanted to improve. Every night, they talked for 10 minutes in English about their day. Sometimes they forgot words, sometimes they mixed their language, but every time they finished, they improved a little more. He also started shadowing English podcasts. He would listen to slow English podcasts on YouTube, simple motivational talks, daily conversations, and repeat them sentence by sentence. His listening became sharper, now he could catch words he never noticed before. He learned that listening first is the key to speaking later. For pronunciation, he recorded his voice and compared it to the native speakers. It sounded funny at first, but after weeks of practice, his accent became clearer and smoother. When he heard people around him laugh or doubt him, he didn't stop. Instead, he said to himself, "One day they will ask me how I did it." He used social media wisely, not for wasting time, but for building himself. He followed pages that post one English word daily, watched English shorts with subtitles, and turned every scroll into a lesson. He changed his phone language to English and forced his brain to think in English every moment. And the best part? He realized English is not a subject, it's a skill. You don't learn it by memorizing rules, you learn it by using it, feeling it, and living with it daily. His first big test came one Sunday afternoon when his school teacher announced an English speech competition. He almost didn't raise his hand because his heart started racing. All his classmates looked at him, the poor boy from the small house, the one who never spoke more than a few words in class. But deep inside, a small voice whispered, "You've been practicing every night, this is your chance." He said yes. For the next 5 days, he practiced day and night. He wrote his short speech in English with the help of his online friend, recorded it on his phone, and listened again and again. He practiced in front of the mirror, outside near the fields, even while feeding the goats. Each time, his tongue became a little smoother, his fear a little smaller. The day of the competition came. He stood on the small stage made of wooden boards, holding a paper that shook in his hands. For a moment, his mind went blank. Then he remembered his first line, "Good morning everyone, my name is," and as soon as he said it, something changed. The same boy who used to hide behind others was now speaking clearly in front of the whole school. He made small mistakes, yes, but people clapped anyway. His teacher smiled proudly, and he saw one thing in their eyes that he had never seen before: respect. That day changed everything. He realized confidence is not something you are born with, it's something you build through small daily efforts. He went home that evening, looked at the sky, and whispered, "If I can do this, I can do more." From that day, he started helping other students in his village learn English. He taught them how to use mobile phones for listening practice, how to write one diary line a day, and how to speak without fear. The same people who once laughed at him now came to him for advice. He didn't become perfect overnight, but he became consistent. And that's what made him unstoppable. Years later, that same boy, once scared to say a single English word, was sitting in front of a camera recording his very first YouTube video. His small cracked phone was now on a homemade stand made of books and a cup, but his dream was big. He began softly, "Hi everyone, my name is," and smiled because he remembered how far he had come. He wasn't a rich man, not even famous, but his story had power, the kind of power that comes from never giving up. People started watching his videos, not because his English was perfect, but because it was real. It carried struggle, hope, and honesty. He shared everything he had learned: how to listen daily, how to use captions, how to talk to yourself without feeling shy, how to write one small line every day. People from different countries commented, "You inspired me," and that made him feel rich inside. Slowly, his videos reached more learners, and he turned his simple story into a movement: English for everyone. He used to say, "If a boy with no school, no money, no teacher can learn, then you can too. Don't wait for perfect, start with what you have." One day, he was invited to speak at a small online event for English learners. He spoke confidently for 10 minutes, without reading a paper, and everyone clapped. That day, he realized English had not only given him a skill, it had given him a voice. A voice to express his dreams, to connect with the world, to change lives. Now, when people ask him, "What's your secret?" he smiles and says, "No secret, just one rule: listen every day, speak every day, write every day, and never stop believing that you can." Summary. The boy who learned English from nothing, a true story that will change you. He was just a poor village boy with no money, no teacher, and no big dream, just a small hope that one day he could speak English confidently. Everyone laughed at him when he tried to say even a single English word, but he didn't stop. He had an old cracked phone and a weak internet connection, yet he used both like a weapon. Every night, after finishing his chores, he would sit under the dim light and watch short English videos on YouTube. At first, he understood nothing. But instead of giving up, he listened again and again, slowly catching words, sounds, and meanings. He realized English is not a subject, it's a habit. He began to listen daily, just 5 minutes a day. He used captions, repeated words aloud, and wrote them in a small notebook. He copied sentences, wrote small lines about his day, and practiced speaking to himself in front of a mirror. When he made mistakes, he didn't feel shame, he felt progress. He turned his fear into energy. For listening practice, he shadowed English podcasts, repeating each line until it felt natural. For speaking, he used free apps to find partners. Sometimes people laughed, sometimes they ignored him, but he kept going. One day, his teacher announced an English speech competition. He was scared, but he said yes. He wrote his speech, practiced it hundreds of times, and finally stood on the stage with shaking hands. The moment he said his first line, "Good morning everyone," everything changed. He spoke slowly but clearly, and when he finished, everyone clapped. For the first time in his life, he saw respect in their eyes. That moment became the turning point. After that, he started helping other students in his village learn English. He taught them how to use phones for learning, how to practice speaking daily, and how to listen more instead of just studying grammar. Soon, people who once laughed at him came to him for advice. His confidence grew, and one day, he started his own YouTube channel to share his journey. With his cracked phone and pure honesty, he began inspiring thousands of learners. His message was simple: you don't need money or a perfect accent, you just need consistency. Today, his videos reach people around the world. He teaches that learning English is not about perfection, it's about practice, patience, and belief. The same boy who once feared to say his name in English can now stand in front of anyone and speak with confidence. He proved that if a village boy with no resources can learn, then anyone can. So, if you are listening to this, remember, you don't need to be perfect, you just need to start. One step today can change your tomorrow. Believe in yourself, practice every day, and one day, your story will inspire others too. If this story touched your heart, subscribe now, because your English journey starts right here, right now.